Hey, everybody. Welcome to the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. Hey, what we do on this podcast is talk about what B2B sales and marketing leaders, operators, and experts are doing today to really break through and grow their businesses at exponential levels. Let's get it in the interview. At the end, I'll give you an update on my courses, and you can check out my website at b2brevenue.com, and it's Brian G. Burns on LinkedIn.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm the CEO and founder of Sales Nexus, and we're a sales and marketing automation platform for medium-sized B2B sales teams.
Yeah. How'd you get interested in sales?
Well, I was a salesperson. In fact, I grew up with my stepdad working from the home as an independent sales rep, like a manufacturer's rep.
Sounds familiar.
He had this really awesome life. He was a big hunter and fisher. So basically every Friday he would take off to some far-flung place to go hunting or fishing and come back on Monday and work from Tuesday to Thursday. Yeah. And made a good living, So I thought, wow, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow. My dad was a manufacturer's rep as well.
Really?
Yeah. So, at the end of his career, he was, a rep during it for other people, but then went out on his own. And it's kind of, I still have friends that do it, manufacturer's rep. So it's kind of a unique business model, but one that seems to work for a lot of people.
Yeah. Gives you a lot of flexibility. That's what I saw.
Yeah. And what did you sell when you were in direct sales?
Well, I started off selling car wash controllers. So when you take your car to the full service car wash and it moves through the tunnel and all the right machines come on at the right time. Yeah. That was the computer I sold that figured that out.
And who would you sell it to? Gas stations or car wash?
Those full service car washes. And there's a lot of dealers in that market that sell to those car washes in their local areas. So those are my main customers, dealers.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was great. I got the same benefit that my stepdad got. I got to work from home. I had a lot of flexibility. I would get up early in the morning. The guy I worked for taught me really well. He taught me how to smile and dial and how to just get focused on it, be good at it, and be effective. So I could get up in the morning, have my coffee, start making my calls, and heck, by noon, I was done. The only thing I had to do in the afternoon was processing any orders I had taken and, paperwork and stuff like that. And did really well and liked it.
Yeah, cool. And what was the impetus to start your own gig, your own company?
Well, long story short, I did well with that and then ended up getting hooked up with a software company in the energy business here in Houston. There was a startup that had this really unique software that we were selling to oil and gas exploration companies. So now I go from selling to these, car wash dealers or pretty small mom and pop businesses to selling $1 million software packages to, $1 billion corporations, right? A whole different deal. Yes. So a lot of learning there, but ended up doing pretty well with it. And we grew. I hired salespeople, and we ended up needing a tool to keep track of things, right? Make sure we were staying in touch with the right people at all these oil companies, very complex sales cycle with lots of influencers and all that. And so we were using ACT way back when, that was kind of the granddaddy of these kind of things back then. It was great, but then we merged with a competitor and I inherited this far-flung sales team where some of them were out of Denver, where our corporate headquarters is in Houston. Some of them work from home and other places, and keeping them all synced up in the same ACT database was a real nightmare. Yeah. So, and this was right when Salesforce had just come on the market. They were brand new. And so we thought, wow, that sounds perfect for us. It'll be in the internet. We won't have to sync anymore. Everything will be real time. Awesome. It was good in those ways, but it wasn't as mature as it is now. and we missed a lot of the functionality that ACT had,
Right.
And so that's what we decided to do, was start the first online version of ACT. That's what Sales Nexus was initially.
And I remember trying to use multi-user ACT. It was terrible. It was really...
Yeah, it was a great tool for an individual sales rep, but not so great for a team.
And as an individual, but then it's on your PC. So if anything goes wrong, you have to back it up. If it gets corrupt, your host.
Yeah, exactly.
The old days of software.
Right. Yeah. That was before they even knew what the cloud was.
Yeah. And so how do you sell it today? Is it, do you have a sales force, or is it more of a marketing automation type of sale, or advertise and then demo and close?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of that. We do a little bit of both, really. So, a lot of people come to our website, they see our ads and things like that. They come to our website and sign up for a free trial. And they play around with it, and we do demos and stuff like that. But then also we're out there, banging on doors and pursuing sort of strategic accounts and markets as well.
Yeah. And what do you see salespeople doing wrong today? I mean, I'm sure you get
it's the funny thing is it hasn't really changed.
No, it hasn't.
It's the same things that we were doing wrong back when I was a frontline salesperson. You're not doing enough prospecting. You're not filling the funnel. And you're not following up enough.
Yeah.
That's the two main things. Today, where we see the most low-hanging fruit is, in any sales organization, right? You're especially an outbound sales organization where you're cold calling or knocking on doors or doing a lot of networking or trade shows. You're going through a lot of leads. You're talking to a lot of people, and you only close maybe 20, 25, 30% of them. So that means 80 or 70% of all the people you engage with don't become customers. And most sales teams, even today, basically throw them away. They're not doing anything to stay in touch with those people because they're so focused on who am I going to close this month?
Right. Yeah. And that's it. And so many of the things that we sell are event based, meaning that you cultivate a need and a desire, and you have to be there at that right time that it surfaces.
Yeah.
There's a lot of education, a lot of persuasion, a lot of transfer of ownership. And those long time gaps, it's easy to forget them. It's easy to deprioritize them.
Right.
And some of it we should, but the more ambitious ones of us should be able to do both.
Yeah. Well, it's a great point you're bringing up, especially in a technology sale of some sort, where there is a lot of that education that goes on. Boy, you invest so much in creating that awareness and need in the customer's mind. And if they choose not to act right now for all kinds of reasons, could be budget, could be things that you're totally out, not in control of. But you've made that huge investment. So if all you do is just kind of stay in contact with them so that when the time's right for them, they call you, then that's magic. And, now today with technology like ours and there's others, you can automate that, right? To where they're just getting an email from you once a month that's kind of giving them the opportunity to tell you the time is right.
Yeah.
If I ignore 5 emails from you, and then all of a sudden on the 6th one, I download the PDF or watch your video or something, that's me saying, time's right, you should call me.
Yeah. And one of the best pieces of sales advice I ever got was from a manager who said, you got the elephant hunters over there. That wasn't really me. And then you get the guy who chases everything, and nobody has time for that. I try and focus on the ones that can and will close, and as many as those as you can.
Sure.
And that stuck with me because the elephant hunting's too risky. And, working 80 hours a week doesn't really scale.
Right.
Especially if you like to hunt. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, you want to let your salespeople, like you say, just focus on the ones who have a strong need now and are closable, and let technology take care of, keeping them in front of a much larger audience than they ever could on the phone or manually.
Yeah. And that's it. And I think today with technology and, we have just the opposite problem that we had 15 years ago where we had no data. Today we have too much data.
Yeah.
Right. And even when I got started in sales, we had zero data. You could buy phone books. It wasn't the internet. It was hard finding the main number, never mind somebody's number.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
And where do you see this sales tech space going? Are you excited by it? You must be.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's so much that's happening. And of course, there's a lot of snake oil. It's easy to call something AI and people go, software. Oh, wow, super cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's always been about, I want to help salespeople be better salespeople, be better at actually building relationships with real people and do a better job of helping those people get what they need.
Right.
And that's mostly the client's world, and really understand what their challenges are and kind of serve as their guide and help them get where they're going.
And that's it. That's what we should be, is a guide. And I keep using this analogy. If you showed up at a nice resort and the bellman said, well, where would you like to go? Or how would you like to get to your room? What would you say? Isn't that your job?
Yeah.
Right. And we kind of make it too complex. And we keep asking them what they want to do next. We should be leading them on what they should want to do next and why they want to do it.
Right.
And I think technology can help us there because we're managing tens of accounts at all different stages and trying to, reset our context every time is hard.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. You really, the best sales organizations that I've seen are the ones that they don't talk so much about their sales process. They talk a lot about their buyer's process, right? And what's that journey look like? And if you can, that way, if prospect A is at the very early sort of awareness and education stages, then that's the conversation you need to have.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if you know that prospect B has already been through all that and he's talked to 10 vendors already and he's really ready to make up his mind, well, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah. And I think too many of us listen to our company and say present, demo, propose, negotiate, close. And it's like, well, just make sure you're really there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because once you give the customer is there and they have a buyer's journey, but they probably don't know what it is.
Yeah, no.
Right. And I did a video about how I was buying a house. It was just a fictitious video. And, if you ask somebody, what's your buying process to buy a house? It'd be find a house, buy a house. Right. But it forgets all the steps in between, getting financing, getting inspections, getting all the testing and the comparisons about the school system and all the little details. Right. And that's what a realtor should be doing for us.
Yeah. That's actually a great analogy, because we all know that experience. We all know, I don't know about you, but I've dealt with some realtors who it seems like every transaction they go through, it's their first one again, almost, and they show up on Friday afternoon and they go, okay, we got all this stuff going on this weekend and we have to do a million things right now. What should be happening is back a week ago when we signed the listing agreement, they should have handed me a roadmap that said, here's the things we're going to need to do. And here's what you need to know about those things. What does, what is an inspection and why does it matter? And all that kind of stuff,
Well, and I had bought a house from a kind of a friend acquaintance. And I was thinking, I'm saving all this money because he just gave me the realtor's fee. He goes, here's the comps. I'll give you the 6 points off and let's do it.
Yeah.
Now, that was great until I went to try and get a mortgage, right? Because I didn't know how to get a mortgage. I'd ask my friends, like, oh, try this person. And the mortgage broker just never gave me an answer. Wouldn't call me back. And I'm like, do I stick with this person? Do I go to the next one? And then you got to find somebody to close, somebody. And then that person gives you a list of things you need to bring, right? And they won't tell you the amount until like an hour before you close. So you got to make sure the money's in the right place, and you can't just bring a hand check. It has to be a certified check.
Yeah.
Now, how am I supposed to know this, right? So that's kind of the buyer's process without anybody guiding you. Now, you wrote you call it an ebook, or is it a white paper? Or?
Well, we call it our guide. We call it the 4 Steps to Market Domination Guide.
Yeah.
And basically, it's kind of it's funny that we're having this conversation, because it's essentially a guide to a business that wants to get some CRM and sales automation, marketing automation in place, and isn't sure how to do it. Yeah. Unfortunately, as I said before, there's a lot of snake oil in the marketplace, and there's a lot of technology that promises to solve all your problems. There's also a lot of consultants running around out there that will charge you a lot of money to help you figure all this stuff out, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy the amount of money I see people spending. In fact, there's studies that I've seen recently that say that on average, most businesses spend 1.5 times the amount they spend on the software on consultants to help them figure out how to use it, which that's a surprise to most businesses. I thought I could afford the software. I didn't realize I was going to spend that and more on, people to help me make it work.
Yeah. I mean, you got to learn how to use it. And I've seen even the simplest of apps, and people say, well, do you know anybody who does training on it? And it's like, yeah, YouTube, right? You just get on YouTube, watch the videos,
right?
But they want their handheld.
Yeah.
And they've got money.
Understandable.
Yeah. Why do we have personal trainers, right? We all can count to 12, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
We need a little motivation and stuff.
Right.
And then you have to connect everything. And I think people are overselling what technology can do. Because I think everybody likes to buy into the idea that it's automating sales, when it's just enabling sales. It's kind of helping sales.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we created the 4 Steps to Market Domination because we've been doing this for 15 years now. And what we've realized is that it's not rocket science. Like you said, there's YouTube videos that would show you how to do all this. But the problem is most businesses go about it in the wrong order. And by doing that, they make a mess for themselves.
Yeah.
It's funny that we keep talking about houses and real estate, because that's the analogy we use. If you're building a house, you got to start with the foundation. Right. If you start picking out windows and painting
faucets,
siding before you've ever worked on the foundation, you're going to end up with a mess. Right. Yeah. And that's what most businesses do. When they're buying technology, they get all enamored of all the bells and whistles, which is really the windows, and the siding, without thinking about the foundation. And so that's what the 4 Steps to Market Domination does. It helps the business in very simple ways. We've created some really neat, simple, easy to use worksheets to figure out, how do I need to organize my customer base so that I can pull up the right segment, the right target list at a moment's notice without it being a 2-day project for my assistant, so that I can execute on marketing ideas, in a few minutes. So I can run the right report that's going to help me manage the sales team and manage my marketing, that kind of thing. So you got to figure that out first. And then you want to build the system around that. When you start loading in your customers from your accounting system or from your sales guy's iPhone or whatever, you want to load them in there so that they're organized in those ways that you just went through setting up. Right. Yeah. And then once you've done that, then you start worrying about all the siding and the windows and stuff, which would be the emails and automated campaigns to stay in touch with all your cold leads and past customers and things like that. That's really important. And it's what we usually see is a business that does this right and just gets to the point where all they do is send out 2 emails every month to all of their past leads, the cold leads that they're not selling to right now. If that's all you do, in 4 to 5 months, you're going to see a 15 to 20% increase in sales. Just because you're going to get an email in front of somebody who you talked to 6 months ago, and all of a sudden the time's right for them. And they're going to call you and say, hey, I'm ready.
And what should be in those emails? It shouldn't be a pitch. It should be a piece of content that's solving a particular problem that people like them have.
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's the key ingredient. And that's in the 4 steps to market domination, by the way. There's a neat little worksheet to help you write emails like this. But it's really simple, especially for anybody like you who's really studied selling, or anybody that's ever read a book about consultative selling. They always talk about finding the customer's pain, right? Yeah. Knowing what is it that's going wrong in their life that they need to fix right now. So you just got to figure out what are those 3 or 4 most common pains that your customers have that you can help them with.
Yeah.
And then you're going to write an email that says, hey, do you have insert your pain here?
Right.
If so, I wrote a quick little blog post, 3 tips for fixing this pain or reducing costs on this or whatever that is. And so you're, like you said, you're just giving them a way to learn something about the problem they have and possibly some tips to take care of it and do some things to improve things on their own. You're not trying to sell them anything, but what you're doing is you're positioning yourself as an expert, somebody that knows, somebody they can trust to help them and not always try to sell them something. And when they click that thing and they go to read your blog, they are raising their hand and telling you, I have this problem that you happen to have a solution for. Yeah. That's really valuable information.
And it gives you ammo to have a conversation with them.
Exactly.
Because they if they're interested in solving that problem, they're probably interested in talking about that problem.
Exactly. Yeah. So you call them up and you don't say, hi, Brian, this is Craig. Remember, we talked 1.5 years ago and blah, 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 blah.
Would you like an updated proposal?
Yeah. No, you say, hey, Brian, I noticed you were looking at that article on 3 ways to reduce costs for whatever. What's going on? Are you having a problem? You just get right to what they care about,
Yeah. That's great. And where can people get this?
They can just go to our website, salesnexus.com. And it's all over the website. You can't miss it. You put in your email and you get a free copy of the guide and you're in business.
Cool. And what kind of a off topic, but what are the 3 things that you look for in a great salesperson?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think empathy is the number one thing.
Yeah.
That's a really hard thing to measure in an interview, especially. But we've learned some assessments and things that we use that help us with that. Listening is really important. Just the ability to answer questions clearly without it turning into a sales pitch, right?
Yeah.
You want to position yourself as really the customer is the patient and you're the doctor.
Yeah.
Doctor doesn't try to explain to you everything he learned in medical school.
No.
He just wants to know what's hurting, how did it happen, and hey, here's what I recommend you do about it.
Yeah. And this is what happens if you don't do it.
Right. There you go.
Cool. Yeah. And where can people go to follow you?
Well, go to salesnexus.com and you can connect to us on Twitter, our YouTube channel. There's a ton of videos about how to do all of this. So that's all at salesnexus.com.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that interview. Hey, I want to make sure you're checking out b2brevenue.com. That is where you can get a free copy of an ebook that I did. It's a real ebook. It's not a fluff book. It shows and talks about how companies make buying decisions and how you can influence that from both a marketing and a sales standpoint, how to find all the people that are in the decision path and what they need to see, know, and touch and feel before they make a product selection. If your team needs some coaching, some help, some training, some systems, some processes that do work today, because we know what doesn't work, or you know what doesn't work, I'll show you what does work and how to connect and get into pretty much any account. It includes deal coaching and content, community, and I can customize it for your particular company. Just go to b2brevenue.com, look under training, schedule a call with me. We can talk it over, or just sign up. You can pay per month or all at once, whichever makes most sense for your budget. Also, I put out videos pretty much daily on LinkedIn and on YouTube. On LinkedIn, it's Brian G. Burns, and on YouTube, it's Brian Burns Sales. Just search for that if you like to consume some video content. And if you see me on LinkedIn, please put a comment and a share and a like on some of the videos. I really appreciate it. I've got a company page for each podcast. This one, the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast, where I put both content and humor videos out daily. And tell a friend about the podcast. Really appreciate you listening. Check out the show notes for all the partners and the connections you can make there, the coupon codes for the products to evaluate them, see if they're a right match for you. And we'll see you next time.